that we had about the nervous system. You remember I told you before that nervous system could be categorized into sensory part, motor part, and central. And from last week, I started to discuss about the sensory system, classification of sensory system, receptors in the sensory system, and the different receptors that we have in the somatic sensory system, I mean the touch, was discussed. And as you remember, I told you about the importance of different type of receptor that we have in the touch sensation. We have some receptors that are special for the very details, very important detail of touch sensation, such as vibration, texture, two-point discrimination, and so on. And we had 4 types of receptors. These 4 types of receptors were discussed, and then I told you that this sensory information will be sent to the brain by different fibers. We have not just one type of fibers. We have some fibers that are very thick, they are myelinated. And some fibers that were thin without myelination, or they have myelination, but the size was very thin. And I told you that this fiber will join together and enter the spinal cord. In the spinal cord, the way that they enter the spinal cord is not the same. And as you see, according to this map, each part of the body has a clear map in which part they should enter the brain, spinal cord. For example, you see we have different layers. This area of skin, in the leg, enter the spinal cord through the S2 segment. This part from L5 segment. This part from S5 segment. I can say that this map shows that this is the lowest part of the body, not this one. And this map clearly shows that a spinal cord is not mixed together. All the information are being separated from each other. And for this reason, you know that in zona herpes that affect the root of dorsal root ganglia, just one section is being affected in the skin, show some symptoms. And this is one step in the processing. In fact, brain will consider this information to be able to detect where is one stimulus coming, where is coming, and make a localization signal. Okay. When the fibers come into the spinal cord, in the spinal cord, we have 3, in fact, we can say we have 3 set of sensory pathways, that these sensory pathways send the information to the brain. They are not all together. According to the type of sensation, we have different pathways. One pathway is named as anterolateral pathway, or a spinothalamic pathway. A spinothalamic pathway means the pathway that sends the information from touch sensation, from thermal sensation, food sensation, pain, those information that were not very important, not very rapid. They are important, but not very rapid. Another pathway is dorsal column pathway. Dorsal column pathway means the pathway that sends the information in the dorsal column of the spinal cord and they send the information regarding the touch sensation, precise touch sensation. And we have also another pathway named as a spinocerebellar pathway. A spinocerebellar pathway sends the information from the joints, from proprioceptors, joint, muscle, and so on, to the cerebellum, not to the cortex. And this is showing another sensory path. Okay, let me to review. You know, we have not enough time to enter the detail of these pathways. Just I review review the pathway and the importance and the type of sensation that they send to the brain. But keep in mind that this is not all the subject. I just make a summary. And from this pathway, something that I told you and asked you in your exam is which sensation is sent with which of these pathways. It's important. Another important item is the the neurons in each of these pathways, first order neuron, second order neuron, third order neuron, and finally a principle named as labeled line principle. Let me to bring to a start. When we want to check the spinal pathway or some somatosensory pathways, we should keep in mind that in each of these sensory systems, we have three neurons in three order. One neuron is named as first order neuron. This is the neuron that is started from the receptor and reached to the spinal cord. This neuron and the cell body of this neuron is placed in the dorsal root ganglion. This neuron will make a connection or synapse with the second order neuron, either in the spinal cord or in the medulla. And then the second order neuron will reach the thalamus. In the thalamus, the second order neuron will make a synapse with the third order neuron. And further order neuron send the signal from the thalamus to the cortex, somatosensory cortex. Let us start with dorsal column. Dorsal column lemniscus system or lemniscal system is a sensory system pathway that sends the information regarding the touch sensation that require high level of localization. Sensation that require transmission of gradation in the intensity. I mean that the intensity is changing. The touch sensation about the vibration or phasic sensation. All the information that previously I told you that were coming from the Merkel disc, Meissner, Pacini, and Raffini cylinders. These receptors send the information into the dorsal column of the spinal cord, and this information do not cross to other side, remain in the same side. I mean, when it is coming from the right side of the body, they remain in the right side of the spinal cord, and they do not cross, and ascend to the medulla in the dorsal column without any crossing. And the first order neuron, therefore, it's very long. It reached the medial lemniscus. Let me show you. This is showing the blue line and red line. The blue line is coming through from the lower part of the body, such as leg, and is placed in the middle of the dorsal column. Then the other fibers that are coming from upper part will be added to the lateral part of it. Therefore, we have a map. The lower part is in the middle, and the upper part will be located in the periphery, in the lateral part. And this map will be remain to the cortex. And you see that in this system, first order neuron enter the spinal cord ascend to the medulla. This is the first order neuron. First order neuron finish here, here, in this medulla. As you see, the second order neuron start in the medulla, cross to the other part, other side of the body. For example, from the left side to the right side of the brain, and reach the thalamus. The second order neuron reach the thalamus, and then the third order neuron from the thalamus to the somatosensory cortex. As you can see in this figure, even when this signal reach the medial lemniscus and make the crossing, the orientation of fiber remain. Just the side is changing. For example, you see here the red line remain at the peripheral or lateral part, and then in the cortex it will be sent to the lateral part of the cortex. Brain use this information to use this information to detect where a signal is coming. I mean, when this at the cortex, the blue line is being activated, brain will consider that it's coming from the lower part of the body. It's from there. When the red line is being activated, brain will consider that it is from hand. It's from the upper part of the body. In fact, these lines are labeled. This is named labeled line principle. We have a label that brain use this label to detect where a signal is coming, from which part of the body is coming. I hope that you understand this principle. This principle is very important. It's the place of my question. Have you been in a hospital, for example, some hospital, very large hospital, has this label line principle. For example, at the beginning, at the entering, you see some lines. A red line, a green line, a yellow line, a blue line, and so on. And at the beginning, it is written that blue line, follow the blue line, you will reach the operation room. Follow the green line, you will reach the emergency bar. Follow the yellow line, you will reach the, for example, laboratory. It means that these lines has a label. It means that if you enter the hospital at the, for example, at second floor and see the red line, you will understand that this red line means, for example, emergency bar. These are not mixed together. And you can move, you can follow one line to reach the target. Here we have the same principle. The brain will receive the information from different parts of the body, but they are separated. And the map remains until they reach the cortex. This is showing the spinal cord, a real graph of the spinal cord, and a schematic figure. And in the schematic figure, you can see this is the dorsal column, this is dorsal horn, and this is the frontal horn. In the dorsal horn, you know that sensory information enter the spinal cord here. They enter the spinal cord. When we are at the lower part of the body, such as legs, the signal will be placed at the middle of the spinal cord. But signals that are coming from hand and upper part will be located at this area. Let me show you. Therefore, in the spinal cord, in the dorsal column, we have in the spinal column we have two pathways that are very near to each other. One is named as fasciculus cunatus, that is responsible for upper body, and another is for lower body. This is the trunk of the nerve that are passing through each other. But you see, there is no crossing. from right side of the body to the right side, from left side of the body to the left side, and they may remain separated from each other to reach the medulla. In the medulla, there is a crossing. Have a look. We have a nucleus that in the medulla, these fibers will finish here and here. This is the nucleus conatus and nucleus gracilis, then the same of the pathway. Here, the second order neuron starts. There is a synapse, and the second order neuron pass to the other side of the body. Other side of the axon, medulla. Information from right side of the body will send to the left side, left thalamus. And in the thalamus, they will finish. As you see, when they reach the thalamus, the map still remains. Lower part of the body that was, for example, yellow, and here that is blue, remain. And the figure show that the map still is separated. If you put an electrode in this area and stimulate, the brain will consider that this is the, for example, upper part of the body. If you stimulate this area, it will consider it is lower part of the body. And finally, you see that signals finally after crossing will reach the thalamus. This is the thalamus, and this is the thalamus. Right side and left side. And as you see, the thalamus receive also information according to the map. I mean that information that are coming from the upper part of the body remain in the middle of the thalamus, and the information that are coming from lower part of the body in the lateral part. Because of the crossing, it is changed. A mirror-like change is happening. And by this way, thalamus will receive a map of the body. We have a map in the body of the body in the thalamus. What thalamus do for the sensory information? Thalamus do process the information, and when it processes the information from the that is coming to the thalamus, those information that are not important for us or are useless will be filtered. In fact, thalamus make a filtration, and just those information that are important, sometimes because of our attention, sometimes because of the other factor, those information that are important will be sent to the somatosensory cortex, but other will not. Even will not be processed in the brain. You may say, what is the importance? You know that brain every day receives millions of pieces of information. But cortex should not ever analyze all these information. In the thalamus, some of these information that are not important will be filtered. You know that I told you previous time that we are hearing the noise of this sound. But we do not pay attention to it. Even though that it stimulates the auditory system, and the information is sending to the thalamus, but thalamus will finish it. Therefore, we do not pay attention to it. Visual system is also like this, touch sensation like this. You have ring, you have watch. Nobody is paying attention to the watch, because this is information that was important at the first, but then it is not. It will be filtered. And attention system, our attention system define which information may be important, may not be important. For example, if I told you that you were in the street, Alias Street, and how many white, for example, car was passing through the street, you will say, I do not know. Because your thalamus did not send this information. You saw the cars, all of cars. But your thalamus did not send the information regarding the type of the cars or how many were white, how many were black. This information will not send to the cortex. Therefore you say, I didn't know. It do not mean that we were blind, we were not blind. We saw the result, we saw the cars, but they were not important, therefore it was not processed. Thalamus was filtered. But just imagine in your brain that one military tank was in the middle of this. Okay? And we were crossing, also this is the military tank is crossing the street or passing through the street. Almost all of you will be considered, this is important. All of you will be pay attention to this type of, because it is not usual. And everybody will say, I was passing through the street and one, for example, military tank was also passing. What is going to happen? Is there any news? Is there going to be any, for example, conflict? Because this information was important. But white or was not important. If I told you that today that you are coming to the street now, please count the number of red cars for me and come report to me. Here, this information will become important. Therefore, you will process it. Your thalamus will send the information to the brain. And this is the importance of thalamus in the sensory system. This was the medial lemniscus system. Medial lemniscus system. Firstly, you know which information is coming, is passing through this system. Secondly, which information is passing through this system, and what is the pathway? First order neuron do not cross in the medial lemniscus. It shows crossing, and then in the thalamus we have third order. Another pathway, and this is showing the dorsal column pathway. You see the label line mechanism. You see that these lines remain segregated from each other, and the map completely is shown on the cortex because the information are being categorized and completely separated from each other. And you see that crossing is taking place in the medulla, not in the spinal cord. What I'm insisting on this for, because in other system, anterolateral pathway, the crossing is happening at the spinal cord, at the same level of the spinal cord. And this is showing the pathway. Another pathway is the spinocerebellar pathway. The spinocerebellar pathway is very clear. The sensory information is being sent to the cerebellum, not to the cortex. Therefore, we are not aware of them. We do not know about them. And these information are used for control of our movement, control of our balance, timing of the movement. I told you, and that proprioceptors are important for these functions. And you will see in the cerebellum, when Dr. Jafari will tell you about the cerebellum function, you will see this pathway is important. Therefore, you know that this pathway sends which part of information. Then take a look at the first order neuron, second order neuron, and third order neuron. First order neuron enter the spinal cord and ascend at the same side to the cerebellum. Second order neuron ascend to the cerebellum, but after the synapse with the first order neuron make a synapse with the cerebellum with the first order neuron ascend to the cerebellum, and third order neuron will be sent from cerebellum into the cortex if it is needed. It is not complete, but if it is needed. In the spinocerebellar pathway, thalamus is not involved. Because I told you that this is not conscious. Therefore, we do not have a filtration of the signals. All signals will be sent to the cerebellum. And cerebellum use this information to correctly move. Therefore, those who have a problem or damage to the spinocerebellar tract, they have problem in the movement. In your lab physiology that I will schedule for you, I think around 2 weeks later, I will show you some tests to check the spinocerebellar and cerebellum function. And you know that those who have damage in the spinocerebellar pathway, they have problem in the movement, such as walking. For example, they are walking not correctly, they have some clumsy or uncoordinated walking. Sometimes they are falling. You may saw those who are drunk. You saw the drunk person are moving like we say that a toxic movement or walking. In coordination of movement in the limb, it has. Therefore, they have intention tremor. They are not able to detect this they are not able to control the timing of the movement. And all of this show that cerebellum is very important, and information that is coming to the cerebellum by the spinocerebellar pathway are so important. The third pathway is the anterolateral system. I told you that dorsal column pathway was responsible for precise and very, very detailed information of sensory information. But crude touch sensation, tickling, itching, pain, temperature, these are the sensations that are not very rapid. Therefore, they do not use the dorsal column. They use the anterolateral. Take a look at the pathway. These neurons enter the spinal cord, and after making synapse with the second order neuron, immediately we have second order neuron. They will cross to the other part of the spinal cord, and in the anterolateral they ascend to the thalamus, directly to the thalamus. Therefore, it is named as a spinothalamic pathway, from the spinal cord to the thalamus. And the sensor and the fibers are crossing from one side to another side. In the thalamus, they will rejoin to the area of the thalamus that receive the information from the medial lemniscus system. Therefore, we do not have two maps in the thalamus. There is a one map. And these maps are joining together at the same site. If I ask you to tell me which sensation is being done with the anterolateral pathway, is being sent to the brain by anterolateral pathway, you will say that pain, thermal sensation, touch sensation, tactile sensation, and sexual sensation. You see that the fiber that have the want to use the dorsal column do not cross, enter the dorsal column and ascend to the brain. In the thalamus, I told you that thalamus has several nuclei, and these nuclei receive the information. And thalamus not only is a filtration stage, but also make some degree of processing. For this reason, those who have not, the cortex is being damaged or removed, thalamus itself can generate or can assess the sense, some very simple form of sense. For example, animals that cortex is being removed, they sense the pain and respond to the pain. But they are not able to detect where pain is coming. The localization is not. I have a pain in my body. This is not good. We should say that I have a pain in my tip of right finger, the index finger, not somewhere in my body. And thalamus is helping us to reach that sensation, but not helping us to the localization. Finally, from the thalamus, the signal will be sent to the cortex. Will be sent to the cortex, and cortex also sends some information back to the thalamus. In fact, thalamus receives feedback from the cortex to inform if some signal was important and you filtered it, please return it back to me. Or some information that you sent to the cortex was not important, please stop sending it. It feedbackly control the system. And finally, the sensory information will reach the thalamus. Will reach the somatosensory cortex. Until now, I told you somatosensory cortex as a concept, as a very simple concept. But in reality, it is not so simple. As you see, the cortex itself, it is composed of several regions, Brodmann regions, and on the other hand, it has several layers. And processing of information is happening between these layers. The information from the thalamus will be reaching the somatosensory cortex at the layer 5 or 4. Here they will finish. This is the third order neuron. Then this information will pass through this layer to the layer, next layer, then from this region, D3 to D1, D2, and this is a process that is happening next and next, and by this step, processing of information is happening. What was the processing of information? When I'm touching one area, I should detect the shape, the form, the angles, the texture. All of these information should be processed by the cortex. And this is not very easy. This is not very easy to do. Brain use some algorithms to detect the sense and then make them meaningful. Can you ask the office for a pen? Do not have a magic pen. In the cortex, the question is that we send some signals such as action potentials to the cortex. And brain and cortex should transform this action potential and pattern of action potential into a meaningful result. Meaningful result says that this is a mobile phone. This is a space, I can say that it is a monitor. Action potential was converted into a picture. And this is a very complex mechanism. Let me to be honest. If I want to tell you do we know exactly how brain make this picture? I can say that no. It is a mystery. It's very, very complicated. But I can tell you that there are some assumptions, some theories, and some very limited amount of information is available that show how brain do the processing and how reach this conclusion. And mainly do this conclusion by hierarchical processing. Hierarchical processing means at each level, one piece of information is extracted from the. Thank you. One piece of information is extracted from these action potentials. And let me to bring you one example. Imagine in the skin, I told you that in the skin we have very small receptive field that detect points from each other. Have a look at this. For example, we have some points. These are the points. When I put my hand on this surface, imagine this point and this one was a little bigger or little larger. When I put my finger, one neuron will be activated by this point, one another by this, one another by this, and the fiber will be sent to the spinal cord. There are some other points, for example, here. This one, and this one. Again, some neurons send the information, and this is the common between them, to the spinal cord. At the level of skin, we just detect points, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. When they reach the thalamus, according to the map, we are able to say that this is coming from the tip of the finger. This is localization. But what about the picture? What are these points? In the first layer of the cortex that signals are coming, the points, the single points are not considered. The orientation of points together will be considered. Therefore, in the spinal cord, we have a shape like this, and a shape like this. We do not say 3 points. We say a line that was horizontal, a line that was vertical. Okay? Imagine from other points, these 2 lines. There is another line here, like this, another like this. These neurons send the information to another level. Next level, these will join together, and we say that these lines form a shape. Here, the neuron that is responsive to the shape do not respond to one line. Respond to the lines that have a connection to each other with a degree. For example, this. And therefore, this neuron in the next level will say, you are touching a square. At the skin, we were touching some points. These points were translated into lines. These lines will be translated together to reach the square. And there are another 5, for example, in the next level, another characteristic will be added, and then the final neuron at the final level will say, that this is a table. Action potential from the points was translated into line, translated into shape, and finally we reach a conclusion. This square that has some line vertical, this is a table. Accordingly, let me to tell you that brain is doing processing step by step. Let me bring you one another. This is named as table theory. Let me bring you one another example. If I draw two circles, what do you say? You say these are 2 points, two circles. In the next level, if I add 2 points in the middle, you will say, I can say that, let me to receive other information. Have a look at this. This is I. I can say that this is I. You see that with each level, firstly, we just detect 2 points. But then these 2 points were added together. The distance between two points, the line about the line, make at one level, make a decision, and decision is that this is eyes. If I put like this, you will say it is a face. I'm sure it is a face, because all the elements were added to each other and reached the point that you are sure that this is a face. Unfortunately, I'm not a good painter, but you know, when you are a good painter, if I add more detail on the face, you cannot say, you do not say just it is a face. You say that this is the face of this guy. This is Ali Muhammad. This is Hajar. This is. In fact, when we add more information on this picture, your brain will do another processing. Level by level, this processing will be completed more and more. You say that this is a face because of the type of the mouse, it is a happy face. Okay? But if I ask you to tell me about the emotion of this face without mouse, you will say it's not possible. According to some element, each element that is passing brain do a conclusion. It becomes that. All the elements were the same, but this was added, and in another level, this becomes sad. I did not change. And if you have a look at this, you can see that this eye also seems to be sad. Why? When I like this, eye is changing. You may say that now eye is happy. I didn't change the eye. Your conclusion about the eye and shape of the eye is changing according to the form of the lip. Have a look. And this show, it was not changing. Brain used the information one another level and then told you that this is happy. One another level, the same eye was considered as being sad. And this is true for all sensory information, not just for visual system. Our touch sensation is like this also. It's working like this. When I'm touching, if I do not touch all the surface, I can say this is a line. But when I use my hand to check, there is an angle here, and okay, and this is the size. Therefore, it is not this is not a square. It is rectangle. This is one side is larger than the other. When I touch the back side and see that there is a point for the cubs, this is complete, and I say that this is a monitor. At the first point, I was not able to say it is a monitor. I was saying that it's a line. But then I told you that no, this is a monitor. Because elements are added to it. More and more elements is added. This is named as hierarchical processing. Hierarchical processing. And in the hierarchical processing, brain do the processing step by step. Sometimes in the middle of the line of the processing, it will reach a conclusion. According to the previous experiment, according to the situation that we are, according to the situation that we are in, this may change. And brain do the processing continuously. And in each step, it will say that it is face. Now, it is a happy face. Then I draw, for example, haze. You will say that it is a happy girl face. Then you say that this is in each step, the processing is completed. And all the time, brain receives some feedback. I was saying that this is a face. Let me see. Oh, no, it was not a face. If I draw two eyes, one here and one here, you will say that this is not face. Because my brain said that these 2 points should be close together. 2 points that are placed here and another here is not a face, it's another. Okay? In the processing that brain do for us, therefore, crossing of, the movement of information from one level to another level, from another level to another level is important. And in each level, from very small receptive field in the skin, it moved to very large receptive field in the area number 5 or somatosensory area. I'll have a look at this. In the area number 8, just the receptive field is just one finger, because I told you that orientation of point together is being checked. When it passed through the area number 1, 4 fingers are used, the information that comes from 4 fingers, and then from the whole finger, and then from the whole 2 hands. By each step, information is more and more general and more meaningful. And pay attention that this is not for touch. Touch sensation also at the same time use visual sensation. I am touching this and have a look at this. Imagine your eyes is closed and I put an object like round object. I do not name it to do not generate any assumption. If I ask you, tell me what you are touching, you say that, let me say, that this is round, there is no edge, it is round. My finger shows that it is small, not very large, the size is not large. My hand said that it is very, it's not heavy, it's very light. And then my finger says that the surface is soft, it is not, or it is like plastic. When I press it, it is compressible. Okay. You see that every step I am moving forward. And then you use your previous information. What is previous information? Previous information you use to say, okay, it is a ball. It is a tennis ball. But if you were not familiar with tennis ball, for example, you say, I didn't see tennis ball at all. I do not know what it is. What is tennis? Okay. You may say it's an orange. It may change my conclusion according to my experiment. You know that a tennis player may use the hand and between the different, for example, tens of balls, select one of them, say that this is the good one. Not only he is able to detect that these are all balls, but also is able to detect which is the better. But for me, that I'm not familiar with, I just can say that it's tennis. But how it is happening? I told you, step by step, more information was added. At the first point, we told you that we are touching some points. But in the next level, I use the information of my finger to say what is the shape, what is the weight. And also, our environment also is important. Our mindset is also very important. Mindset. What we expect. If you were in a tennis yard, everybody is playing, and you hear the sound, and you know that this is a tennis yard. Okay, if you put your hand into a space without seeing anything, put your hand in the space and touch one object that is like this. Immediately, your brain do not use very high energy to detect what is the weight, what is the shape. It is a ball. Okay. But if you were for example, you are in the nature, you are in the mountain. You are climbing mountain and start to investigate a hole. Put your hand into a hole and suddenly touch an object that is round, shape is like your hand, it is soft, and there is some hairs, and touch, when you press it, it is compressible. It's like the sensation that you had in the ball. The same sensation, but in the mountain. When you are putting your hand into a hole, here your brain expects that this is a dangerous animal. It may be a rat or mouse or any other animal. Here, your brain will say, please escape from it. It's very dangerous. Do you know why? Brain use the expectation. Here, in the mountain, in a hole in the mountain, tennis ball is not likely. It may be one animal. Okay. In fact, I can tell you that brain use a predictive processing, PP. What is predictive processing? When the signals are passing through this system, at the middle, in each step, brain may use assumption and make the conclusion final. Nihaya. At the middle of the line, like the tennis player that in the yard of the playing yard, immediately after touching, without using the information about the weight, about the texture, will say that this is a ball. Like me, that I was in the mountain, I put my hand into a hole, it is dangerous. And touch a soft space, soft object, brain immediately predict according to this area, to this expectation that I have, expect that this is the animal, please escape. This is predictive process. If this method of processing is completely 100% correct, I can say no. Sometimes it makes mistakes. But it is very fast. Brain want to be fast, not to be 100% accurate. Brain predict that this is an animal, then you escape, you have time to explore if you were right or not. Sometimes brain corrects itself. I was thinking that this is an animal, but it was a tennis ball. I do not know why it was at the mountain. Okay, brain corrects itself, but at the first it tried to do predictive processing. And you know, by this mechanism, brain is very, very efficient, very, very fast, but sometimes it has errors. Every time, everybody in this class have experienced that you have a sensation and then realize that you were wrong. Okay? At the middle of the night, you sense you are hungry, and your eyes closed and try to touch in the refrigerator, grab a piece of, for example, a piece of an apple, and when you start to eat, you say, oh, it was not apple, it was a potato, for example, potato. You were wrong, because your brain just imagined that this size is and in the refrigerator, it has happened. Why potato was in the refrigerator? I do not know. My mother last night forget to. It is not a brain do mistake and correct itself. Everybody may hear a sound and then realize that it was not correct. What is your name? What is your name? Muhammad. For example, a person at the other side, you say Muhammad. He wants to say Mahdi. Brain used the he and said it was Muhammad. Immediately you said what you were calling me? Say, no. Your brain was fast, but it was not complete. Brain did not wait to hear the other sounds. And it finished. This is the predictive processing. I predict when you are telling me that when I hear it means other. The other is also correct. Brain also, I can say that it reveals the others. Sometimes that a sound that is very, very low, you say that you were telling me that, for example, it is correct, but I was saying that it is not correct. Brain reached the conclusion according to the information that it reached, according to the expectation, according to the environment. Okay? According to the environment. And this is the predictive process. Let me bring you another example. In about, I think, early 90, there was a case report in the British Journal of Medicine. And the title of this paper was Nail in the Wood. The story was that a worker jumped from a space to another space, and suddenly a nail that was in the upright position passed through the foot, and in the front side it was coming out. Imagine what is happening, like this. You can imagine that is very painful. He was screaming, he was shouting, crying, pain. Everybody was rushed to help. Emergency was coming. Then nobody was able to remove the pin. They moved the patient to the hospital. While the pin was in the boot. From one side it was come and come out from another side. In the hospital, they were going to remove the pin, but because of the very severe pain that patient had, it was not possible. Therefore, they anesthetized the patient. When the patient was anesthetized, they tear apart the boot and saw that the pin did not penetrate into the skin. It was passing between the toes, like this. Just the shape of the pin was like this, that it is passing through the, you sense it. Just because it was passing through the shoes and it was coming from the other side, this picture telling you that this is passing through the bone. Okay? Brain received this information that this shape, a pin is coming out from the shoes. Oh, what is happening now? On the other hand, the person therefore start to feel pain, while there was no pain. The pin was between the toes. On the other hand, for example, because of the sweating in the boot, this worker have a sense of moisture in the boot. Brain will consider, oh, the blood is coming out. What is happening inside the boot? Everybody was rushing. Wow! This picture will send your brain that this is a very, very bad situation. And brain start to draw a picture. The picture is that this pin penetrates into your skin, and on the other hand, it is coming out. Your bone is broken. You are not able even to move your foot. And then when they told the patient that this is not true, your foot is completely healthy, he was not believing. It's impossible. I was feeling the pain. It showed that your brain reconstruct the pain. It was no pain. Your brain reconstruct that this pin is broken one bone and my soul is being injured and so on. This was for this reason, this case was reported as a case report. Show that your brain do not do conclusion or do sensory conclusion according to all the information that is true. Sometimes it makes mistakes according to the pre-assumption or according to the prediction. Everybody in this class, when I told you that a pin was passing through the shoe, everybody in this class expect that this hurt the foot. Therefore, everybody was believing that this is an emergency. You did not be surprised to say that this patient should be anesthetized. Everybody was believing that it is true. Or, you know that there are some funny videos in the social media. For example, your eyes closed, or you are working with another factor, and I generate a sound, and suddenly touch you in the backside. you realize that this is the sound that is generated. Or there are some videos that show that you have your baby and move the head of the baby, but at the other side generate a sound toward the wall. Baby will consider that my head was touching the wall and start to cry. You say like this. Head is moving, but the sound is generated by another hand. The baby will consider that my head was hitting and start to cry. Start to cry. You should show the baby that this was another hand. There are these videos are available. I try to show you next time. This showing even in the baby, this predictive processing is happening. The baby will consider that when my head was moving back and suddenly there is a sound, oh, my head was hitting it. Even though that the head was not hitting. And this is showing brain consider the sensory information all together and make an assumption out of this. I can say that almost all the time it is correct, but there are some errors. Let me bring you another example. Imagine we are in a place that there is a fire, burning fire. Muhammad is baking kebab. The smell of this kebab هو جميل هو خوشمزه و لذیذ, and everything is showing that, and there are ash in the space. I can smell the fire. Everything is okay. I ask you to close your eyes, and then suddenly a chunk of ice. Put this ice on your skin. Because you are in the front of the fire, you are smelling that the fire is the smell of fire is the smoke. This piece of ice will stimulate your skin, and I told you that extreme coldness and extreme hotness are the same. Your brain start to realize that a piece of this fire touched your hand, and you start to cry. Well, I was burned. I said, I was kidding. This was a piece of ice. Do you know why you were wrong? Because you were in the front of the fire. The smell, the warmth of the fire, flame was coming to your face. The kebab also was smelling very nice. Everything was showing you that this area, that fire is available. Therefore, if I put a piece of ice on your skin, immediately you will sense that you were burned, and start to cry and say, I was crying, my hand was burned, and then you realize that it was a joke. And this is the base of every illusion that may happen to us. You know that sometimes we have illusions. I'm hearing something that is not correct. I see something over there that something was moving. For example, a piece of the tree was moving because of the wind, but I realized that one person was moving from one side to another. The right picture is generated in our state. As I told you, our brain is able to correct itself, but sometimes it is pathological. It went pathological. Sometimes it went pathological, and your brain will consider that I am hearing somebody is calling me. You know that in the illusion. I am here. I am seeing something in the space. And sometimes it is extremely pathological. They say that Rasulullah is calling me for one thing. I am hearing the voice of صاحب الزمان and holy, they are these are illusions. Brain generate one sensation that do not exist at all. This is different than the piece of ice. Ice was present, I was blindly perceiving. Sometimes in the illusion, brain generate a picture that do not even exist. Okay. You see that in the brain, in each level of the brain, there are neurons that do not respond to one point. Instead, they respond to a characteristic of the points. For example, in one area of the brain, there is a neuron that just respond to the points that are or arranged horizontally. Therefore, if these lines, if these points are horizontal, they will be stimulated this neuron, and this neuron will send the information that I am sensing a horizontal line. But when the line is vertical, it do not show any activity. Brain use this information and send to the next level that I am here, I am sensing a vertical, horizontal line. Or another neuron, this time, not only respond to the orientation, but movement. For example, here you see, when we move from D to A, this will be active. But when we move from A to D, it is not active. At the same level, it shows that help me to realize that when one insect is moving from one part of my screen to another part, I am able to say it is moving from right to left, from left to right, from up to down. Different neurons, thousands of neurons are available, and each of them are using this information and then mix all this information together to reach the conclusion. And by this way, you understand that how brain send the information level by level to other layers. In the somatosensory cortex, that I told you this processing of information starts, but it is not completed. Somatosensory, the S1 is primary somatosensory area. Then this area send the information to somatosensory number 2, secondary somatosensory area. Then to the parietal area that is mixed with other sensory systems, and finally generate a picture for us. In fact, we can say that what we see, what we sense, is in fact a picture that brain draws for us. This is a picture that brain draws for us, according to our previous experiment. For this reason, it is believed that newborn childs have no previous experiment. Therefore, their brain do not have any experiment about the sensation. One reason that is believed why we do not have any memory of our 1-year-old childness is that at that time we do not have experiment about, for example, tennis ball. Therefore, this not will remain in my brain as a memory. And you know that in the cortex, the organization of the cortex is not uniform. According to the area of the body that we use most, such as hand, such as lips and face, this area in the cortex is larger. This is the picture that we have in our mind, in our cortex. You see that face is larger, but for example, whole leg and trunk is very small. You know why? Because in human, these areas, such as hands, such as face, is used for touch sensation. We do not use our backside to sense anything. Nobody use, for example, the backside of the arm to check if this, for example, fabricate is okay or not. We use fingers. for this reason, this area is changed. And in the animals, it may be different. For example, in animals, some area in the rodents, area that is related to the sense of mustache is larger than other part of the body. Because they use the mustache to send it. In the cat also it is true. In the cat, their fingers and their paws is not represented very well in their cortex because they do not use their hand. They mostly use their tongues and the lips. And this is the picture that is generated in different animals. You see, in rabbit, face and head is most represented in the brain, but legs and trunk is left. Cat, you see the mustache, mouth, but paws is also better than the animal, rabbits. In monkey, it is like human, and this is the human. This is the picture that we have in our cortex. It is a caricature, as you see. We say that this is the picture that our brain has about us. Very large face, very large hand, but very small leg. Because this area do not send information to the brain. Our backside, our leg do not send sensory. We have sensory information for our leg, but you may say, I am sensing this. Okay? You were sensing it was moving, but you are not able to tell me how many dots it was, how it is round, and so on. Okay? Let me to call it a day today. And next week, inshallah, I will continue complete this part and start and finish it. I can say that in one session, I will discuss about pain, sense of pain. What is the sense of pain? How we sense the pain? What is the mechanism that pain will be controlled? The pathway that sends the pain signal to the